related items. So if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak, please come forward. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing now. I don't think you have to turn it on.
There we go.
There you go.
Good evening. Just here about Facebook to just remind you, because I was 4 years ago, about what's happening there. Looks like they're going to move from 2 buildings to 1 building instead. The initial plan was for 2 buildings on that spot. And where it's important is that the pilot agreement with the city is based on number of buildings and not on size. So if they remove 1 building, it's a loss of, if I remember well, $550,000 a year on payment in lieu of taxes for the city. So just remind you that that's an important fact. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment. We'll move forward to item number 2, McCain Station Residential Phase 2D Final Plat. Charlie?
Good evening, Commissioners. The owner and applicant is requesting approval for the final plat of McCain Station Residential Phase 2D. And that consists of 45 attached single-family lots, 6 open space lots, and a dedicated right-of-way for proposed infrastructure and utility and drainage easements. This portion of the development is on 4.3 plus or minus acres, zoned as MRO, multiple residential and office, located on Tompkins Lane.
Thanks, Charlie. Is there a representative from the applicant here?
Chris Mayberry with Reagan Smith. We agree with all the comments and here to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay. This seems pretty straightforward to me with it being a final plat. Is there anyone from the commission that has any questions? Okay, we'll see you back in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item number 3, Music City Executive Airport Expansion Site Plan. Jim?
Jim Carpenter, staff planner. The owner and applicant request approval of a site plan for the Music City Executive Airport to construct aircraft parking apron, sewer line, buildable space for future hangar development, among other things, on 68.87 acres zoned IG industrial. No, I believe it's IR, industrial restricted, located at 1001 Airport Road. So industrial this is a little bit of a different concept for us because industrial zoning requires a site plan, not a master plan. In essence, this document is a master plan for the airport, but we can't call it that because our zoning doesn't call it that. So the owner and applicant are bringing this before you to show this to the Planning Commission, get approval. Most likely, future buildings for this project will be amended site plans. Again, industrial zoning, buildings under 50,000 square feet do not require Planning Commission approval. So we'll most likely not come back here unless there's something kind of extraordinary that requires it. Staff has mostly minor comments on this item, but I do want to note that Stormwater has requested a kind of a full, drainage sheet to be shown with resubmittal. But outside of that, and kind of a little bit more clarification on when the most, immediate things are happening, staff has mostly minor comments on this item.
And just to clarify, you said IR. Is it IR or IG? The agenda says IG.
It does.
Industrial General.
Sure, it's IR, but I'm not.
Okay. Is there a representative from the applicant here to speak?
I'm Jeff Dunham, the airport manager, and this is Garrett Wright with Garver, who's our engineer of record, and they're the ones that actually put together this plan for us. So
Okay,
he probably knows more than I do if you have any more questions. So.
okay. Is there anything you'd like to say or any?
I think Jim covered it. This is essentially a master development plan, not a site plan. No construction will occur under this site plan.
Okay.
Amended site plans will come forward for each project themselves.
Okay, and are you okay with engineer's request? With engineering's request for the drainage?
Yes, yeah, we'll
Okay.
prepare a overall sheet for drainage.
Okay, Aaron, do you have anything to add?
Not about the drainage, but just talk about the driveways, and we've discussed that with the applicants as well. Their current proposed main access does not meet the driveway spacings with the drive across the street, which is the old Donnelly building. I don't know that it's used much anymore, so this body may feel that that's fine, that when that site redevelops, they can make an alignment with this. And then we did recommend, I think in total, there's 4 driveways for the whole complex shown.
I believe so. I think that's 3 on Airport Road and 1 on Cairo Road. 'Cause there's 2 existing on Airport Road, and then we're showing 3 additional, or 2 additional on Airport Road there. So it'd be 4 on Airport Road, 1 on Cairo Road.
Okay, thank you. And we just had recommended that they try to either limit the number of driveways they had on Airport Road or evenly space them out. It is in the current major thoroughfare plan for Airport Road to be widened, probably to a 4-lane or a 5-lane with a median. So having more driveways, some of those could effectively become right-in, right-outs in the future. But currently, right now, there's not a plan for widening Airport Road. It's just a future thought.
Okay. Any questions from the commission
Mr. Chair.
or Brian?
Just one extra comment for clarification and for the record, the zoning is IG.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Any questions from commissioners? Okay, we'll look for it here in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to item number 4, 804 Harris Drive detached garage site plan. Brad,
Good evening.
sir.
Brad Hickman, staff planner. The owner and applicant request approval for a site plan to construct a detached garage accessory structure with alternative architecture on property zoned R20, low-density residential, located at 804 Harris Drive.
Okay, there representative from the applicant here?
Hey, Austin Christian, good evening, everybody. This is just more of the same last several times that we've been here talking about these metal-sided detached structures, trying to build them within the city limits of Gallatin. So if you guys have any questions about exterior architecture or anything like that, just happy to answer.
Okay. Yeah, I know we spoke at length last time about how we're trying to fix this formal process. Are there any questions from commissioners?
Are there other existing structures in that neighborhood?
I'm not sure if there are in the neighborhood. Obviously, in the city of Gallatin now, we've, approved and built multiple. Also, too, I wanted to reiterate something that I've said in the previous multiple meetings that I've been a part of on these structures. I'd be happy to be a part of anything that I could do to help, show you pictures. My team and I have been gathering photos of multiple buildings that we've built in other city jurisdictions, county jurisdictions, next to houses, things like that, just so I could hopefully, give you guys as much information as I could and pictures for, whenever you guys go through that in more depth.
I think the thing that would help, like when y'all resubmit, is just a quick map that pinpoints other structures that are in the neighborhood that don't match the facade of the house.
Sure.
So if you have that, I think the process will be really easy.
Okay. Would that be for future projects or for this project?
And for future, well, until we get this formal process fixed, yes, for future projects as well.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
I was just gonna say, it's just to give us assurance that like this addition of this building is not going to wreck somebody's neighborhood and they're gonna be all upset about it, but it sounds like it's a low-density zoned area. I think I know exactly where it is, and I can understand how it would work. Just trying to make everybody be happy, but appreciate your willingness to help us as we move forward and streamline this, because I'm sure you don't want to come to every planning commission meeting every time you build.
Well, yeah, you know, it's part of it. But yeah, I mean, if that process was a little more streamlined, it would be fantastic. And like I said, I'd be happy to help in any way that I can. Also too, with, you know, we deal in 40-something different jurisdictions. I'd be happy to share with you experiences that I've had with them. And I don't know if you guys are able to speak with different jurisdictions and how they handle this and how their process works, but multiple different cities that we work in that are surrounding areas, you know, Mount Juliet, City of Lebanon, City of Hendersonville, you know, the list goes on and on, you know, where we're doing this. I don't know if you guys are able to talk with them, but, you know, they may be able to shed some light on that as well.
Awesome. Anything else?
Just want to comment that I know that there are outbuildings in this neighborhood. I don't know that there's any metal outbuildings in this neighborhood. And this is why this is somewhat similar to the original case that brought all this about and created this process where we have to look at every one of them. So I do want to see the type of material and how it blends with the architecture, because that is a nice established neighborhood over there. I'm not saying won't do it or be opposed to it, but looking at the type of architecture and the type of facade used on this as it is relative to the other structures in the neighborhood, that's precisely why this process is in place.
I'm glad you said what you said, because I was actually thinking Harris Lane, but Harris
No,
Drive,
this is
yeah.
Jacobs.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, because so that could be,
Yeah,
sorry.
just want to look at it really carefully. And if there are other metal building structures, you know, certainly consider it, but I don't know of one over there. And in
Yes,
full disclosure, I only know that because I recently bought a house over in that neighborhood. So I've looked really carefully at that. I don't think it's a conflict of interest in this discussion, but I don't recall seeing any.
Yeah, and be happy to go over there and see if we could maybe find some structures that are like that. I think at that point, the question becomes, you know, where is that, you know, deciding whether or not that matches or, you know, meets whatever the code says. I think if I'm correct, it says that it needs to match. So then I know it's up for interpretation. You know, match could mean, you know, has a gable end that matches the house, or has a certain pitch, or, you know, has two windows on the front, or, you know, what is that defined as in terms of matching? You know, is it colors? Is it having a 1 foot soffit fascia overhang? I mean, there's a lot of variables there. You know, I think if that could be a little bit more solidified, that would be helpful as well.
And that was the problem with this process, is that we couldn't come up with any concrete, well-articulated policy that was put in paper that the staff could implement. So that's why every single one of these has to come before us as a kind of a subjective decision.
Sure.
On that. No, I'll tell you that the property I bought over there has a 12 by 16 outbuilding, but it's not metal.
Right.
And it does have a shingle type roof to match that of the house. And I think I haven't seen any details, but the structure you're talking about would be metal side, and I'm assuming a metal roof?
That's correct, yes, sir. Yep.
Well, I'm probably getting into what we need to talk about 2 weeks from now. So just letting you know what we'll discuss.
Mike, did you have something?
No.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, thanks, Austin.
Thank you,
See you back
guys.
in a couple of weeks. Okay, that was item number 4. Number 5, Gallatin Industrial Data Center, amended site plan. Jim.
All right, the owner and applicant request approval of an amended site plan for a 278,306 plus or minus square foot data center on 512.54 acres zoned IR industrial restrictive district located at One Meadow Loop. The owner and applicant request approval of an amended site plan for the Gallatin Industrial Data Center. This building combines what was kind of previously proposed as buildings 5 and 6 into one building. And staff has mostly minor comments on this item.
Good evening, Brad Simpson with Barge Design Solutions. From the comments that we received from staff, we don't take any objections. Happy to answer any questions or comments you all, or address any comments you all have.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
The only question I had was that I wasn't sure I understood Councilman Chavance's concern. Can you elaborate on that? Or is it reducing it from 4 buildings to 2? Is that what this site plan is doing?
The way the previous structures were numbered made each data hall its own building, although the footprint was all one footprint. Similarly, the way that they will operate, they'll essentially operate within this footprint as, separate buildings, but it's all one footprint, one structure. So you see the 2 buildings in terms of footprints at the northern portion of the site. Again, so they would call those 5 buildings. Yeah, with the various different data halls and then an admin in the middle. But again, it's from a structural standpoint, it's one building, it's one footprint. So similarly, this will be one building, but they will operate it in sections.
I don't see anything different between this and the previous plan.
I would agree.
Okay.
I mean, does engineering have anything to add?
No, I think our stormwater just wanted some notes added and some, clarification, but otherwise we didn't have any major concerns with this.
Okay. Guess see you back in a couple weeks. Thank you. And item number 6, Southwater Car Wash Site Plan. Charlie.
The owner and applicant requests approval of a site plan for Southwater Car Wash to construct an additional vacuum spaces and parking spaces and a new drive to the existing car wash on 3.96 acres, zoned as CS Commercial Services, located at 1279 Southwater Avenue. This first slide here shows what is currently existing on that piece of property. And then this second slide here shows their proposed expansion. Staff had numerous comments regarding just general maintenance to the site plan, some of the nuts and bolts that go on it with addresses, zonings, and things like that. The GIS section of IT had some comments and concerns about the overall layout of the site in regards to property lines. As you can see here, this corner here on the 2005 plat, if I remember correctly, is shown as a corner, but for some reason here, this is shown more as a curve. And then the issue with the 3 different setback lines could be fixed with a plat amendment, which will be added as a condition for approval. It's a little hard to show on here, but I'll just run through it for you guys. There is a 10-foot front yard setback on this lot here. There is a 25-foot front yard setback on this one. And then there is a 50-foot minimum building setback that's mainly up here. Other than that, that's what planning staff has comments on. I know engineering brought up in our check print, I want to say last week or so, concerns about the driveway here on Southwater and looking at potentially moving it. I don't know if that's been discussed with the applicant yet, but I can let Aaron elaborate on that a little more.
Sure. So we did ask for a driveway connection to driver's lane there. And then since this is a redevelopment, their driveway to 109 should follow the recommendations of the 109 Corridor Management Agreement. So just to give this body a little history on that, in 2013, the TDOT, Nashville MPO, Sumner County, Wilson County, City of Gallatin, City of Lebanon, and the City of Portland, basically every place that has jurisdiction over 109, executed the State Route 109 Corridor Management Agreement. The purpose of that agreement is to provide a framework for the agencies, organizations, and governments to work collaboratively in the development, management, and operation of 109 between Interstate 65 and 40, and ultimately preserve and enhance the long-term performance of the asset for both the state and local communities. So from this corridor management agreement came a State Route 109 access management study. And it sectioned off 109 into smaller sections, and then gave them recommended applications of a 5-level hierarchy of access management classification. It ranges from highly restrictive, Class 1, to more permissive, Class 5. This section is Class 2, so the driveway would not meet the spacing for that type. So we would be recommending that their access to 109 be removed with this redevelopment, and that their access be off of the entrance that they would add to driver's lane.
Would their entrance off driver's lane be located across from the one that's on the south side of driver's lane?
No, we would ask that they would follow the corner clearance standards, which I believe would push it back at least 120 feet from the intersection of 109. Ideally, it would be more towards the property line that I believe they would be creating, so that it could function as a shared drive.
Is this an automatic car wash?
I'm sorry?
What kind of car wash is this? Is it automatic or self-serve?
It's automatic.
I think so. Is there a representative from the applicant?
Drew Ferguson, Greenland Design. We agreed to all staff comments except for the one about the driveway. Our problem being, after talks with the client, stacking and queuing to the pay station. If we were to connect the driver's lane, it'd cause some stacking issues as far as not having enough spacing to stack cars in there. But we're happy to work with staff and with engineering to make accommodations to that drive off of 109.
I mean, Aaron, they're going to have to get with TDOT for approval, aren't they? I mean, I know TDOT and you guys work very closely together, but.
That depends. So the way that they have it shown, they are proposing work within TDOT's right-of-way. If they are doing work within TDOT's right-of-way, they would. However, based on we had a meeting last week with TDOT on another project, and we brought this up, and they said basically if nothing was done to the 109 entrance, then they would not need a new driveway permit because it's the same use.
This is a change from a self-service car wash to an automatic car wash.
I think right now, I think it works as a automatic car wash where you drive up, you pay at the pay station, and then you turn left into the building. If you go back to the.
Yeah, but there's a difference because this one will be the kind that has the free vacuums and doesn't generate any sales tax revenue for the city of Gallatin. And I'm not happy with those. They don't benefit our community and they take up prime real estate. I would prefer it stay as a self-service one because it actually benefits us in that way. I say that because that's something that a lot of people don't understand. And it's currently a self-service one, and we do generate revenue from it. I think is how that works. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But I know you probably don't know that piece of it. But I know there's a lot of communities that are moving all their automatic car washes with the free vacuums to industrial zones because it is using our prime real estate. And so my hopes when that property was purchased was that it would transition to something that, kind of contributed to the needs in the area. And there's already at least one automatic car wash right there in that area. So,
Yes, sir.
A couple of questions. I'm looking at the existing site plan and the new one. What does the change accomplish? What is it doing?
We're just adding curbing and cleaning up some of the radiuses, trying to make it a little bit nicer of a entrance.
That's more than adding curbing. That extended a driveway out to the right. What is the reason for having to add that much additional hardscape area, is it changing the use of the place, or are you adding a new service offering, or what?
I'd have to resort that back to the client. My thought process when I was designing this was it was going to be, just adding more stacking to allow, get cars off of 109 and loop back in there. It was to get busy.
What was the catalyst that brought about the need for a site plan change?
I think it's a redevelopment of the whole,
It's a,
It's not really redeveloping it.
Yeah, but they would have to update their site to meet stormwater requirements because they're adding pavement. And so that in and of itself, I would think would be a site plan submittal at a minimum.
well,
Whether or not it comes here, I don't,
I guess I'm asking the question why. If I were the owner, if adding additional hardscape area triggered a bunch of things like driveway permits and stormwater, I'd have to ask the question, why is this being added? Is this going to increase volume? Is it going to increase stacking? Is it going to increase the traffic in and out of this existing driveway point on 109?
Not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure he's bringing in like new vacuums, adding additional vacuum spaces. Not 100% sure.
Okay.
I'll do some research and get back to you.
We can talk about it more in a couple of weeks then.
any other questions? I don't have any. Thank you. We'll see it in a couple weeks.
Yep.
Item 7, Keene School of Music change of use site plan. Jim?
The owner and applicant request approval of a change of use site plan for Keene School Music on a .26 plus or minus acre parcel, Zone CS Commercial Services, located at 424 East Main Street. So this building is set vacant for around 5 years at this point. And so with that, they have to do a change of use. And so the main part of this for us is that the applicant has to add ADA access to the building with parking and entrance into the building in whatever fashion will work for them on that front. And then they also are requesting an alternate alternate buffer yard plan. It's a little bit hard to see from this angle, but the driveway for the Franklin house, part of it encroaches onto their property. And so it would be very difficult for them to provide the type 10 buffer for, somebody else's driveway. And then the other side also will have, has some challenges in terms of meeting that buffer yard as well. Staff, so basically, staff has had communications with them, and they know that they have to update the ADA. Staff would also like to see some landscaping added here between sidewalk and their existing parking, which will be restriped. And outside of that, I think those were our main comments on this item.
Thanks, Jim. Is there a representative for the applicant in attendance? Please come forward. Hi. Can you please state your name and address?
My name is Kaylin Keene, and I'm the owner of Keene School of Music.
Okay, thank you. Do you understand the comments that were presented to you by staff? Do you have any major questions?
No, sir. We're working with the owner of the building and with Jim to be ADA compliant and get the bushes and such figured out.
Question for Jim. Jim, with the landscaping up front, my only question there is what type of landscaping are y'all looking for? Just shrubs, like low-lying?
Yeah, so for this, there's a lot of existing large trees in the front yard. We don't want any of that to change too much. We just want to see something kind of additional to help bring it up to kind of that code requirement.
Okay.
up to what? Have you looked on either side?
Well,
No, I mean, to me, it's the only, I mean, right there is every single tree in that block of Main Street.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the White House on the left, you see there is a car repair shop. And then on the other side of the other White House is a gas station. And so I quite value and appreciate that these buildings are retaining their character as they kind of are. I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about it. I mean, I think if they wanted to, you know, put
I remember.
knockout roses are a big thing in that neighborhood, but you know, I don't know what you would do there if it wouldn't look just kind of weird with
Well, my only concern with landscaping right there is potential site.
Surviving? Yeah.
Site, view
yeah.
and
constraints.
it's surviving.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, it's parking lot screening. So that's kind of why I suggested it originally, is we have that parking lot screening requirement from any sort of public right of way. So just to provide that, but in terms of height or options, we're pretty open to whatever y'all want to do.
My opinion would be that the building actually being used is much better than just
Sitting empty.
sitting empty. But, yes, sir.
I well remember the panic that it caused when the building to the right of this, that white building, was proposed to be torn down and a CVS or some other pharmacy erected there. And we were afraid we're going to lose this character on Main Street and lose these houses. So to find out that someone wants to come into this really cool-looking old bungalow-style architecture and preserve it and put a school of music in, I can only tell you that I'll be about as receptive as anybody on earth could be to an alternative buffer yard requirement and removing obstacles that might be in your path to making this work. That's
He's a musician, so you need to get to know him.
a very bad musician. So, no, let's do what we can to remove obstacles without showing
Yeah.
extreme preferential treatment to one person over somebody else. But this is what we want in this area, and we want to
Correct.
preserve this character.
And just, hopefully they explain to you this is just a formal process that we have to go through whenever the use is being changed.
We'll work with you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll see you back in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Item number 8, Mundy Rogers Road, amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan. Brad?
The owner and applicant request approval for an amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan for Mundy Rogers Road for a 2-lot residential development on 3.98 acres, zoned R15 PRD. Medium-density residential, located at Rogers Road. The only notes we really had on this would be that it is a PRD, which carries by the code requirements for open space and recreational space. And there's also concern about how that area across the creek would be maintained, because you can't bridge it. So the area.
Okay. Thanks, Brad. Is there a representative for the applicant present?
Drew Ferguson, Greenland Design. We agreed all staff comments, just here to answer any more.
If I remember correctly, this used to be 5 lots.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, as far as maintaining the stuff on the other side of the creek, I'm assuming the proposed plan would not have any structures on the other side. Okay. I don't have any questions. Does anyone from the commission?
Where is this?
So this was a plan, I believe it was
Oh, is this
a
back
year
off
and a
of
half,
Hartsville
a
Plaza?
year,
Yeah, it was
I know where it
like
is.
18 months ago, roughly.
yeah, like a year and a half ago, they came in and had 5 lots proposed with a little cul-de-sac. Will each of these lots have their own driveway?
I believe so. Yeah, I think there's an easement that allows for
Okay.
two separate.
I don't see any issues with this. Any questions?
No.
All right, we'll see you back in a couple of weeks.
All right, perfect.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 9, Clearview Park improvements, final master development plan. Jim?
All right. The owner and applicant request approval of a final master development plan for Phase 1 of the Clearview Park improvements. redevelopments comprising a new community center, parking lot, and 2 picnic pavilions on 7.27 acres zoned R6 high-density residential district located at 723 Chambers Street. So the city, in combination with Wold Architects, is working on this. So I believe this was the original, okay, let's see, where are we? Okay, so this is the original plan with our expanded community center here, one pavilion kind of near the building, and then one pavilion further along towards the kind of open field area. So they were looking at one pavilion kind of over here and then one closer to the building. Staff's understanding is that both pavilions will probably end up being in this area. I believe the final location of that will be with resubmittal. Staff had mostly minor comments on this and hand it over to Rosemary and
Thanks, Jim.
Rosemary Bates, City of Gallatin Economic Development Agency. Just to give you a little of history, in case you don't remember, more than a year ago, before November of 2022, the City Council appropriated $2 million to make improvements in Clearview Park, including a new community center. And so the city hired Wold Architects to represent it. They are here tonight to answer any questions you have about the site plan. And yes, Jim is correct that the idea is that one pavilion that is shown further away from the community center would be moved closer to the community center. And then if you have any questions not related to this site plan, I'm happy to stand back and answer those when you're ready.
Thanks, Rosemary. Do you have anything to add?
No, I'm sorry. Jim Gillum, Wald Architects and Engineers, but did receive the comments, and like Rosemary said, if you got any questions, be glad to answer those. And it has been heard loud and clear to move the pavilions back to the similar location that they are now. So that will be coming in the revision.
Which would be closer to the new building.
I'm sorry?
So the new location that the pavilion will be in is closer to the new building being constructed?
It would be in similar proximity to the current location that they are now.
Is there a reason why it was separated?
We initially separated it thinking that it gave a shelter and refuge area, closer to the playground, as well as separated it if in the event that different families came in and wanted to have reunions, pavilion, birthday party use at the same time. It just kind of separated them. But that the Parks and Council representative both felt like it needed to be back towards the existing building.
Thank you.
Okay, he's going to leave it to me to bring up two issues that are in the comments.
Well, I can.
Okay, I'm paying you. You do it.
So one comment was to add screening to the existing parking lot, which is to the east, really between the current pavilions and the property line. As Rosemary mentioned, we are under a tight budget and, added the scope. We even met out there and talked about some items that even during the pre-application meeting that would be some shared use between Public Works, helping with some sidewalks and some culverts. So adding screening just continues to stretch the budget that's already tight. So that is one comment that we'd like to ask to be relieved of. And the other is the intersection with the driveway and Chambers. It was shown to improve that to the ADA standard ramp, GOV-PV-10. So not that it doesn't need it, but again, that may be something that if we do have to do it, we'd probably be looking for Public Works to help, some of that sharing of the responsibility.
Can you point that out on the plan? Do you have a pointer or anything?
So the screening is here along the existing parking. I put that comment in, just if we're addressing screening at all, may as well just go ahead and bring both sides up to compliance. And then the ADA sidewalk ramp is here, I believe. Is that right, Aaron?
That's correct.
It's at the existing entrance, the sidewalk along, basically it'd be a ramp along the street.
Yeah, so it's providing the
You're talking about the truncated domes, right? Are you talking about the truncated domes?
Yes. And the ADA slope, all that.
And yes,
I will add in, we can certainly keep those things in the plan. However, the city already has a plan for ADA compliance issues, and money is appropriated every year. It would be more cost-effective to not put it in the bid and add markup for the contractor and do that separately, both of those items actually separately, from the actual construction contract, and have the city pay for those two items out of other funds, especially the ADA compliance out of that fund that's in the budget every year. So we can work around some of those things. I just don't want them to be a requirement of this plan. And while he's mentioned some possible partnerships with city departments, that is still not guaranteed. And Richard DePriest, while he is great to work with, I still don't have an ultimate cost estimate for this project. And, we may have to look at cutting some amenities inside the community building to get it down to fit under the $2 million umbrella that was passed by the city council, which has already spent money on the master plan and with their fees as well. So I'm just sharing information, not complaining, just sharing information.
yes, sir.
In this case, I agree with what Rosemary's saying. If you look at the parking area, the reason we have an opaque buffer hedge adjacent to a parking area is so that when the cars are pulling in and out of their slots, their headlights don't shine into oncoming traffic or in a parking area across to a neighbor's house. But if you look at the orientation of these parking spots, they're all pointed away from the road and away from those houses. So I wouldn't have any heartburn about leaving it at the parking. The ADA needs to be done, but I understand what Rosemary's saying is the city, of all people, are going to have to, or of all entities, are going to have to do the ADA compliance one way or the other. Let them do it outside of contract under other funds. That makes sense.
And then
You
we
will
are
get the ADA
making some
done,
other
right?
improvements that they didn't mention. They mentioned the vertical construction, but we're improving the end of the park furthest toward Shalom Zone to make it, I can't remember what youth grade it is, but a youth 12 or 10 and under soccer field, but it could also be used for many other things. We're doing some drainage improvement and adding some sidewalks. And I believe the old playground may be gone. David would have to answer that. It's gone.
In the top right?
No, right now it's gone now, but it's on the far left. It was the old, okay. But, and then also Public Works did agree to demo the current building to save us on cost as well, so.
Well, that canopy, they have a canopy there now, correct?
I'm sorry, what?
The canopy adjacent to the building?
I have two pavilions. Two pavilions that are covered.
I don't have any other questions. I mean, I agree with John with the landscaping and how the parking's oriented. I don't know how to answer the ADA issue. I would say the only issue we would run into is right now the sidewalk looks to be on the site and out of right of way.
Not sure if it falls within the right-of-way currently or not. Something that we can look at between now and then.
It might be a good plan to have them keep the ADA design on the plan, but maybe make a note that, you know, the construction of those improvements may be done by the city, something.
Don't have to get
that
it done
effect.
within a year. Have the city put up a bond to itself and get it done
But,
within a year.
I mean, we have to be able to meet ADA requirements, so we don't
know
want
that,
to not show something like that on the plan.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, just the decision of who does the improvements, that can be up in the air somehow by a note.
Another thing about buffering the parking, there's a lot of parents that sit in their cars watching and waiting, and I think that kind of helps with keeping eyes all around. Yeah, when kids are, because that's an area where a lot of kids will walk to and stuff, so I think it's just helpful.
Will there be any improvements to Chambers? Will it stay as it is, or would you, is the city gonna widen the road? If not,
There's no planned improvements right now on Chambers.
May be on an engineering list somewhere, but it's not part of this plan. And that wasn't what the city council asked us to do with this plan, so I don't know if
no,
engineering.
my
is
concern was
on the
just,
list.
you know, when you have activities after the traffic flow.
It's terrible,
It
because
is.
everybody parks on
It
the
is.
street.
Everybody parks. Are you expanding any of the parking areas?
We are expanding the parking to the west. We're creating a hammerhead-shaped parking lot that comes in and ties up to the building for ADA parking and improvements there. So I've
What's
forgotten
the
the,
total net added?
Like 40.
we're
Looks like
we're adding
15.
13 spaces. There's currently 28 spaces and adding up to 41, so a net add of 13.
I tried to count them, but I've got bifocals. I'll make sure they worked.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
See you back in a couple weeks. Okay, item number 10, Hicks Lane annexation/plan of service. Jim?
All right, the owner and applicant request the planning commission to recommend approval of a resolution to annex and a resolution for a plan of service on 77.55 acres plus or minus Zone County RR Rural Residential located at 255 Hicks Lane. So this is property, some of y'all have seen this before. I don't know where it stopped in 2022 when this was first discussed. But it is adjacent to the city along the boundary here with Triple Creek Park. Staff had mostly minor comments on the actual boundary survey itself.
Okay. Is there a representative for the applicant present?
Hello, good evening. My name is Juan Calderon, 520 North Water Avenue, Gallatin.
Okay. Do you have any questions or want to add anything to what Jim said?
Say one.
Do you have any questions or want to add anything to what Jim said? No? Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Just around to
When
complete
he
with
first
city?
came to the council to ask for the permission to request this,
Mhm.
you still don't have any current plans. I said, sure would make a nice addition to our city park. I said it
Well,
would
you
make a nice
mentioned it. It's a
addition to our
good
city
idea,
park. But you don't have any plans for it, but you're just wishing it to become a part of the city so that in the future you might have opportunity and you'll have access to Gallatin electricity.
Yeah, yes, sure.
Yes, sir.
What zoning will be, what, if any, zoning will be placed on it if we annex it?
There won't be a zoning established.
The current zoning in the county, is it zoned county's equivalent of R40?
Be rural residential.
40, okay.
Is it surrounded by city?
It's got Triple Creek Park to the east. And there's a school just to the southeast of it.
And what does
And then the Civic Center past that.
So, I mean, it would be contiguous and would not receive a zone until they had a plan of action to move forward.
And does anybody happen to remember off the top of their head what the character area is under our community character map? I wouldn't expect anybody to have that.
Yeah, it's
Suburban.
suburban, because everything out there is past that.
I don't have any other questions.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, see you back in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, item number 11, other business. Brian?
I do not have any items of other business to discuss.
Awesome. Any announcements?
Nope.
I don't